to the Center Pocket Podcast. I'm Sam here with Chris. I know it's been a little bit since we've been back on here. Had a lot of fun stuff going on. Um, Chris, your thoughts initially on South Carolina's perfect 38-0 season in the women's basketball tournament? They managed to shut down Caitlin Clark. Tell me what you think about that.
Winning 38 games in a row is not an easy feat. Winning 38 games in a row in basketball is not an easy feat. Winning 38 games in a row, including a victory over Caitlin Clark in the national championship, not an easy feat. That South Carolina basketball team had a dominant run this year, and they ended it. They ended about as well as you could have. I saw something earlier that said that kind of just brought up how team sports work in general. It said Caitlin Clark was the best player in the country, but South Carolina was the best team in the country. And guess which one prevailed?
Yeah, so often teams will that they will outdo the individual players. Because South Carolina, they didn't exactly shut Caitlin Clark down either.
She had
She
30 points.
Yeah, she had 30 points. Really nice game overall. Um, excuse me. Something you would consider great from really just about anybody. So great performance. Team just couldn't overcome South Carolina in that one. No other team this year that could though. No other team that could overcome South Carolina. So Iowa is in a full company of teams there. On the other side of things, men's bracket. We've got a showdown of one seeds between the Huskies from Connecticut and the Purdue Boilermakers. Klingon on the Connecticut side, he's 7 foot whatever. Saw him last night on CBS after the end of the Final Four, and Tracy Wolfson's on like a step ladder or something trying to interview him because she's tiny. But we got him facing off against Zach Edey. This is going to be a matchup of centers, the likes of which we haven't seen in a minute.
I tell you, Zach Edey, he's really good. Averages pretty much 25 points a game, 24.9 points a game, which isn't very common for a center. Not only is he big and has those great defensive abilities to get those rebounds, but he can shoot it almost as well. So it really is going to be a matchup of the centers. I've got UConn pulling this one out. I don't think Purdue will make it easy. I could see this being like I think it was the 2016 tournament, Villanova versus North Carolina. That was one at the buzzer. I could very easily see this game going down to the wire because, like the women's tournament, it's a number one versus a number one. But I think UConn's going to be able to pull it out.
Yeah, and I was thinking earlier, I don't remember the last one versus one men's championship we had, because we've had some lower seeds kind of sneak through the last few years. I know last year it was an 11 seed in there in the title game, San Diego State, if I'm not mistaken, and predictably they got thumped, but um, should be interesting. I was sad to see OU not get in. I don't know that we've done this podcast since OU lost in the tournament. Refresh my memory. Who'd we lose to?
We didn't lose in
No,
the
we didn't
tournament
get.
because we weren't
Yeah,
invited.
you're right. We didn't even
Uh,
get there, and we declined the NIT invite.
yeah,
I'm
and
thinking of the women's tournament losing to Indiana.
that's right. When it comes to OU not getting invited to it, when it comes to him not getting invited to the men's tournament, at the end of the day, if you want to get invited, you got to play better. We had too many mistakes at the end of the line that just cost us and cost us and cost us. And we really couldn't overcome it. And ever since, pretty much our entire starting roster has either entered the portal or declared for the NBA draft. But
Who did we have declare?
I think it was Jalen Moore. It was just yesterday he declared for the NBA draft. But at the same time, you see some of these teams in there, like NC State. They made it all the way to the Final Four. They had fewer wins and more losses in the season than OU did, and OU plays in a much tougher conference. I'd take the while there weren't any Big 12 teams in the Final Four at the end of the day. I'd take the Big 12 over any other conference. Virginia, they got embarrassed in the first round of the tournament, and people were talking about how when it comes to measurable statistics, OU was better in almost every category than Virginia. And so why OU got left out was kind of perplexing especially when Virginia got let in. But at the end of the day, I don't think we would have made it to the national championship. And if you want to get invited to the tournament, you got to play like you want to get invited. So it just comes down to that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a catastrophically bad showing of games through kind of the final month of the season there. So not too surprising we didn't end up getting in. I was certainly hopeful we would. Um, you know, I feel like we could have won a game at least in that, but it's academic now, I suppose. Um, real interesting news tonight out of men's college basketball. Arkansas is apparently really close to hiring John Calipari from Kentucky, which would be quite a move. Calipari, he's been at Kentucky far back as I can remember. Haven't been a crazy watcher of college basketball my whole life, but last cycle of my life, at least I can remember.
Yeah,
Been
he's
their
been there
coach.
for a minute.
Yep. So be interesting to see if that pans out. Not sure how much of it right now is speculation from some of the local guys and how much of it is legit, but I've seen that from a few people. He's looking to go to Arkansas. So
Yeah, and it's probably at the right time. The way Kentucky went out, there were a lot of Kentucky fans who were ready to get rid of Calipari. So, maybe it's just one of those things where it works out the way it works out.
yeah. Yep. There's always a time. And along that same vein, spring practices are underway for the Oklahoma Sooners football team. I saw OU today, I think maybe yesterday, but social media team put out a mic'd up video with Deion Burks, getting to see some of what he's doing in his first spring session with the Sooners. Seems like he's a bit of a vocal leader there. It was a short sample, 2-minute video, but um, seems like he's really connecting well with the guys on the team. He looks to really be a standout guy for the coming season. I'm optimistic. I think he was a good pickup. I think we've got some good pickups on the line. That the transfer portal, it gives and it takes, but um, with him, I think it did a whole lot of giving for the Oklahoma Sooners.
Without a doubt. And last season, I remember when we got Andrel Anthony, who we gotta remember him. I mean, he's going to be an elite wide receiver for us this year when he comes back. We saw flashes of it last year, but Andrel Anthony last year when he came in, all the reports on sites were beat writers saying, "Yeah, he's pretty good. We'll see if he ends up starting." And then, "Yeah, we think he's going to start. He's pretty quick," and just kind of a whole lot of "we'll see what happens." And then he ended up just exploding. Where Deion Burks, I'm seeing on these services where the beat writers post their stories and what they're seeing in practice. I'm seeing that a lot of them think he's going to be wide receiver one. He's going to be the guy at the wide receiver position. He's apparently he has speed that no one else in the wide receiver room can match, and he's got the ability to go with it. And I've also been seeing a lot of these plays that they've been posting. Like there was this one bomb that Jackson Arnold threw to Jaden Gibson, made an acrobatic catch in the end zone. But seeing all that practice in the Palace and the upcoming spring game in the Palace, that reminds me of something I wanted to ask you, Sam. Now that the Palace is kind of heating up, there's more and more going on over there. I wanted to ask you, the first game ever played at Oklahoma Memorial Stadium was on October 20th, 1923. Who was the opponent?
Was it? So give me one hint here. Was it a team that is a current Big 12 team?
It is a team I have never heard of before.
Okay. So we're
I'll give
into
you one other hint.
Little Sisters of the Poor type territory here, aren't we?
The the name is like a city and a state, kind of like Miami, Ohio. Uh, the city is the name of another state in the United States. The state is Missouri. And that's the last thing I'll tell you. City that shares its name with a state in Missouri.
Arkansas, Missouri. We'll go with that.
The first game played at Memorial Stadium was October 20th, 1923. OU won 62-7 against Washington, Missouri.
All
You
right.
think we'll
Well,
see any 62-7 routes of any teams this year? I've got a 62-7 route against the Maine Black Bears.
there's a good potential. If there's any game where we're going to be at the part of the season that we're playing our best ball and need to show up, especially with committee rankings coming out and stuff, it's going to be that November 2nd game against Maine. What is Maine? What's their mascot? What's their little
Black Bears.
the Black Bears? Okay. Well, we're gonna be having some black bear stew here in Norman, I think, on November 2nd. So let's get excited for that. Certainly not having Longhorn stew this weekend. Texas taking the series 2-1 over our softball team. Pretty depressing there. It was a sad weekend for OU softball. I know the baseball team was playing. We were playing Oklahoma State today.
Didn't go well.
Yeah. So our rivalries this weekend in the bat swinging sports. Not a good weekend.
At least we didn't get swept in either one of them. We beat Texas that first night, and for the first time since 2009, we lost a series to Texas. I think this is the first time we lost a Big 12 series. I think they said since 2011. We've won every series since. It was something at least a decade ago. It At the end of the day, our athletes are human. They're not going to be the invincible Terminators that we're so used to seeing. I mean, look at Alabama under the reign of Nick Saban before he retired, of course. He consistently had one of the best teams in college football, never went more than 3 years without winning a national championship, except for here at the end, his last season, he didn't win one, but he was darn close. But at the end of the day, no matter how many championships you win, no matter how great your players are, how great the recruiting classes are, you're not going to win them all. It's impossible to expect to win them all. And so, you know what? I'm all right with it. I hate losing to Texas, but if I know Patty Gasso, we're going to take out our wrath on every team that we face for the rest of the season.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to seeing some angry softball, some third, fourth inning run rules. But no, exactly what you're saying is right. You're going to have off days, even as a powerhouse. And Saban and Alabama, they had theirs, right? Mid-season games against Ole Miss, against Texas A&M, against any number of teams, Auburn. No matter how good you are, you're going to have off days. And sometimes you get a team that is going to still shine in key moments on those off days, much like South Carolina's women's basketball team this year. Not losing a game, you're going to have off days where you can lose a game, and you've got to find your way out of it. Some teams do it, and some teams don't. That kind of ends up defining your success when you're a powerful program. Mm-hmm. So just looking forward to seeing what the response is from our softball team. I'll tell you, it's really something to look at a 3-loss season where we're, 33, 34-3, whatever, and see 3 losses and know that is a down year for us.
Yeah.
That's an abnormality in the grand scheme of things.
It's a pretty good team we got.
That tells you everything you need to know. And I was thinking the other day about where OU's softball, in terms of their consistent reign here, where they've been the team to beat in softball now for probably 5 years. I know we're on a 3-year winning streak with the national championship, But the couple years leading up to that, we were in the playoffs, in the postseason tournament there, and didn't make it, but still really a force to be reckoned with. And just where this team really ranks among the great dominant powers of other sports. Looking at the Alabama teams from 2009 to 2015, 2016, right in there, and how they were. Looking at Georgia more recently.
How they're looking at Michigan right now.
Yeah, we'll see on Michigan. I think the jury's still out on that one. Michigan had a really good year. They've won their big game, right? They've won the championship and they beat Ohio State a couple years in a row now. So things are trending they're trending in the right direction there in Ann Arbor. I'm not sold on them being a powerhouse yet, or that they're the team to beat year in and year out. That remains to be seen.
We'll see now that Harbaugh is gone.
Yeah, it's can't think of the dude's name, but
Sharon Moore.
Yeah. Should be good, but yeah, just considering where they really rank among those great teams. And I think they've got to be in the top 5 of that conversation.
Absolutely.
So heck of a team, man.
Absolutely.
All right. I don't think we have anything else tonight, Chris. Kind of a light week. Looking forward to seeing the softball team bounce back, and some good basketball to close out the season tomorrow in the national title game between UConn and Purdue. UConn right now, I believe, is a 6.5-point favorite on the betting lines. So see if they cover that. I know they're on a however many tournament game streak of 13-point victories. So it'll be interesting to see. We will be back in a 3 weeks or so after the spring game between OU Red and OU White. Should be a competitive matchup. Chris, if you're taking that one to Vegas, I'd bet on OU. They're probably going to win that one.
You know what the spread is?
No. What? Tell me what the spread
I don't know.
But enjoyed talking with y'all here tonight, and we will look forward to another episode soon. Stay safe, and Boomer soon.
Boomer soon.